Hello. Welcome back to the Mason system. As per usual, this video is a hot takes video. You guys submit your hot takes and we react to them. We have a discussion about them. It's like an open platform for a conversation. The idea is to never be disrespectful. Everyone's opinions are their own. This is just a platform to talk about Ace Attorney and have some fun. Originally I asked, oh yeah guys, like maybe I should make this like a Reddit thing, but you guys just kept throwing comments. So I'm so thankful for you guys. Just a little reminder, hit the bell, subscribe if you want to. If you want to see more of these, leave comments, leave your hot takes, and I can keep making more of these videos. So yeah, I'm not going to waste too much time. Caravan of Noobs. Okay, they said, my hot take would be Turnabout Storyteller being the standout case from Spirit of Justice. It's great as a short and comedic relief in between two more dramatic cases, and even more as a demonstration of what Athena's knowledge of psychology brings to the mystery. I don't think Phoenix or Apollo could properly navigate Uendo's dissociative... Whoa. Let me just... Okay. If Athena were to get her own game, I'd like to see her grow into this niche. It's longer? Sorry. Or build cases around mental health disorders, be that the defendant, witness, or culprit. It would be interesting. This kind of feeds into my general opinion on Athena, right? I think Athena is hurt greatly by the fact that the mood matrix and her psychology gimmick is heavily tied to the courtroom. I put up like a thread, and I might link it in the description if I can, on some ideas I had on how they could actually implement Athena, right? And one of them would be is I wouldn't have made Athena a lawyer. I would have made her a new employee at the agency. And so what you do is you would take, I will get to the point about Turnabout Storyteller in a second. You would take like these clients, these witnesses, and you take them back to the agency, which would give you a reason to go back, because 9 times out of 10, there's no reason to go back to the agency. And you could get them to see Athena, and then you could have this logic chess like therapy session with them, and then you could get a psych profile made on them, because the only psych profile we see ever made is of the Phantom, right? And Athena is obviously this psychology major. She's obviously well versed in this stuff, and that's interesting. That is an interesting angle to take it. But let's take the situation with Robin Newman, right? Like, this woman is suffering from gender dysphoria, right? Or whether you want to say she's trans, that's a whole conversation. But some form of gender dysphoria. She just outs her, just like that in the courtroom. Says yeah, and there's something a bit gross about it, especially with everybody's confusion and whatnot. And so, like, I feel like if they did Athena more like that, not only would I have liked her more, it would have been cooler, because again, you're getting a piece of evidence from it, and you're building closer bonds with the witnesses. It's like there's a lot of benefits to it. It's not that I don't think that having these mental health disorders or mental health issues or mental health disorders in these cases is inherently a bad thing. I think it really could add something. I think I worry about the optics of, and just like the ethics, dare I say. I sound like I'm doing PR, but I worry about the ethics of doing that with, in the context of a courtroom and me trying to get my client acquitted, right? I think it could only work if those were all of your defendants. Because if you're just outing culprits, if you're just outing witnesses, and everyone's reacting like, whoa, and they're just making all these jokes, I think it's going to end up looking more gross than, interesting, But I do get the premise. I think it can work. It just has to be done in different contexts. Turnabout Storyteller, I don't love the case. I don't even really like it. But because it's so divorced from what Spirit of Justice is doing, and I'll be very forthcoming, I don't really like Spirit of Justice. I would be inclined to say that it's probably my favorite case in the game. Maybe tied with the first case, but again, they're both not doing crazy. The problem is I have such a low opinion of Spirit of Justice, to be very transparent, and so that kind of it's apples and oranges, but all the apples and oranges are like covered in feces, you know? It's just, at what point? Yeah, I feel like I spent a lot of time on this question, so I'm gonna move on. Mecha Shadow, I remember you. 4-3 would have been better if Klavier was the suspect and Darian was the prosecutor. Does it make Darian obvious? Sure, but that hasn't stopped other cases from being good. Plus, it's a good callback to Turnabout Goodbyes, as both cases penultimate cases. I would disagree, and I think, and I say this as a big Klavier stan, and I repped him in the previous video. Klavier is at his best in Turnabout Serenade, in my opinion. In the interview with Takumi that I was referencing in the previous video, and I'll try throw it in here if I can. I'll throw it in the description. Klavier in case 3 is like so personally invested because this is his concert that got messed up. You know, you see like a shift in his priorities. Like you get to see this character kind of come out of his shell a bit. Like this is what pisses him off. You see how he engages with something that he doesn't have much personal stake in, and then you get that contrast between like what he actually is involved in and what he cares about. Like this was my concert, this is my case, this is my friend, I'm gonna get whoever messed this up, right? Like even one of my favorite moments is that like when he walks in and then his guitar's on fire, he drops all the pretenses, like no hair forehead. He's like, Apollo, was this you do this? And it's stuff like that that kind of helps characterize Klavier to me. Like seeing him crack is interesting because he's not always so broken, you know? And I think some of that would be lost if you remove it, because then at that point, because Succession is gonna hurt his, like, you're gonna see a gleam into his weaknesses too, right? And so what you'd effectively have is 2 cases where Klavier is weak and 1 case where he doesn't pose much of a threat. If any, I think that would emphasize how much people didn't like Klavier. You know what I mean? And I'm a Klavier stan. I like him. But no, I love him in Serenade. So I actually disagree. Let's see. Here's my hot take. Case 3s do a lot for the prosecutor without directly stating it. I'm not going to read all of this because I do understand the point you're making. I'm not sure if this is a hot take, but I definitely do agree. Nayuta? Let me see this. Nayuta isn't likable, so case 3 did nothing for him. Yeah, I agree. Do you know what I mean? So yeah, I think the interesting parts of Nayuta conceptually and his theme is great. But yeah, I don't think every case 3 does that. I think it's because the Ace Attorney structure is case 2 is the introduction to the gimmick. Everything is new and fresh and interesting. And then case 3 is like, okay, let's humanize the person you're facing a little bit. Or let's build into the story that we're telling with that character. And oftentimes that's either done through mirroring the situation or like just, just like saying something about the character. And I think it's a great thing. I think it's a good formula. But I mean, one of my critiques of Ace Attorney is that it's a bit too formulaic. So if there's actually something that I would advise Ace Attorney would do, maybe in the next game, is to maybe not do that. I don't think every prosecutor needs this big grandstanding backstory related to the main theme of the game. Like I think, sometimes just let them be a dick. Let them not be a nice person. I think that's okay. Yeah. Oh my days. A lot of Klavier stuff, man. Okay. This is another Klavier one. This is better described as a wild take than a hot take. It's something I've never seen anyone other than me say. Klavier probably should have been the prosecutor for Turnabout Reclaimed. For these 3 reasons. So we got 3 reasons. Let's go. It would have been poetic for the last prosecutor he faced. Okay, I get that. It's widely agreed that Klavier was done dirty post Apollo Justice. Giving him a case would help. I agree. He'd strike me as just the eccentric guy who has deep insights to the... It's a weird one. I might disagree, and I'm going to give a different take. I think Klavier could have been a cool prosecutor for... What's it called? I think Klavier could have been a cool prosecutor for Turnabout Academy, right? And I literally uploaded a Academy video very recently, but he has so many interesting ties to the case that having Athena and Apollo bounce off Klavier would be really interesting. It also like add, you got 3 playable lawyers. Why not have 3 different prosecutors? I mean, you do, I guess. I don't know. Maybe it'd be too much. Yeah, Dual Destinies had 4 prosecutors. Crazy when you think about it. Yeah, and yeah, no, yeah, like, I think it would have been cool. It also would have been just nice. I think it would have been nice to have Apollo and Klavier face off again. Personally, like that is his rival. You know, like you have your Phoenix here, Edgeworth. Like, what's anyway? There's a lot of talk of Klavier. I clearly went on about Klavier quite a bit in that last video. So yeah. Hot take, Edgeworth is actually kind of boring. Not bad, but just not as interesting as the rest of the main cast. Sometimes on a really bad day, he's my least favorite trilogy main prosecutor. Alright, let's shoulder the burden together. Don't you worry. Hotel Japanifornia. It's me too. I don't really like Edgeworth either. I think he's a bit overrated. And maybe that's yeah. I think Edgeworth is super overrated, right? People love up Edgeworth. And maybe overrated isn't the right term. Overrated implies that my distaste for him is because of the fandom, right? And that's not entirely accurate. I think it's more Edgeworth is, for lack of a better term, a show stealer, right? When he shows up, attention from everybody else is sucked right away, right? And I accuse Phoenix of doing this, right? Like I say Phoenix stole the spotlight in Dual Destinies, and he did. He did, by the way. Side note, people say Phoenix stole Apollo's thunder in his first game. Phoenix is barely even around. He helps you for the first case. Second case, he's just in the hospital. Third case, he doesn't show up until like the court lobby. He's like, yeah, you gonna get that guy? Like, yeah, I am. All right, cool. Good luck. It might be a bit hard. That's it. Case 4, like Apollo is doing so much of this stuff by himself. Dual Destinies comes up, right? Phoenix is like, Athena struggling. Let me take over the case, right? Turnabout reclaimed. Blackwell, let me take over the case. This is the show that Athena cared about. Let me take over the case, right? Turnabout for tomorrow. Don't love it, but Athena's character arc, her whole dream was to save Blackwell, right? Phoenix stands here. Let me take over the case. People talk about, anyway, not relevant. Why is this relevant to Miles Edgeworth? Edgeworth does that, right? He's in every single final case outside the GOAT, right? Outside the GOAT. And he steals the spotlight every time. Why is Edgeworth in the final? Well, I get thematically why Edgeworth is in the final case of Justice for All. Why is Edgeworth in the final case of Trials and Tribulations? So according to Takumi, it was just because he was popular, right? Had no reason to really be the defense attorney. Why is Edgeworth in the final case of Dual Destinies? Why did it have to be him? Do you know what I mean? Fan service, whatever. Why is Edgeworth in the final case, Spirit of Justice? Why did it have to be him? Like all of this stuff. And then obviously you have the investigation games and so on and so forth. Now my problem isn't inherently he's in the final case every time. It's just that like I don't know. I've seen enough of him. I know his gimmick. Especially, I started to get sick of him around the investigation games. It's like, all right, cool. He's a bit uptight. He loves the Steel Samurai. I care about the truth. And that's it. Like, obviously, he's got the trauma with the elevator thing, DL6. He's got his sister, Francisca, who I think is a bit more of an interesting character. But, like, Edgeworth is arguably the second main character of the series. But because of that, when him and Phoenix are on screen, no one else matters. And I think Phoenix, they managed to make work in a way where he didn't steal the spotlight as overtly from the other characters, at least in Apollo Justice, and maybe to a lesser extent, Spirit of Justice. Edgeworth still hasn't managed to do that. Edgeworth shows up and no one else matters. So I think it's a mix of that and just me being a bit jaded to his whole gimmick. I don't find him that interesting, I'll be so honest. So yeah, I kind of agree. I'm not denying that he's not an interesting character. He's just not the guy for me, That's Edgeworth. I have a few hot takes. Oh, okay. You got a few. Let's see. People should talk about Gregson more. Don't unlock the Reaper stuff. Don't let me talk about it. Because Gregson being a Reaper is silly. I don't want to talk about it. Not gonna. Someone has to make a direct DGS take for me to get into DGS stuff, man. Recipe for the Turnabout is one of the best cases in the series for me. I enjoy it. It's a bit goofy and kooky, but like it's cool. Like I think it's a cool case. Some cool twists. It makes you think differently than you usually would in your typical Ace Attorney case. It's not the cleanest thing, but it's one of those. It's fun, you know. Knightley, it's not one of the best cases for me though, but it's fun. Knightley is an underrated culprit. Yeah, he was cool. I like the chess gimmick. Yeah, he was cool. I have to replay Investigations too, but I remember liking him. I like his sprites. Athena is one of the least favorite characters, and is probably my least favorite of the playable characters. Half of my dislike comes from the fact that she made Trucy irrelevant. Don't say it out loud. Not too loud now. Not too loud. Yeah. You're just right. I don't know what to tell you. You're just right. Athena showed up and then a Trucy died. Right? Like, Athena hurt Apollo a little bit. Athena killed Trucy. Right? And nobody talks about that. Right? But I used to always get caught up in, Athena showed up, man. New main character. It doesn't make sense. We need Apollo justice and Apollo justice too. And all that. But really, yeah, Apollo got sidelined a bit. But, and I don't like the way they did his story, but he still got his moments. Trucy, oh no, Athena showing up killed her, right? And it's a damn shame. It really is a shame. So that's a take I definitely 100% agree with. Absolutely, yeah. The Monstrous Turnabout is the best filler case in the series. You're allowed to be wrong. So loudly though, with 2 upvotes, that doesn't feel right. The Monstrous Turnabout. No, I didn't like it. It's really silly. It's really goofy. I think the Ninetales Veil theme is great. Like the actual like cosplay thing. I like Jinxie a lot. I like her gimmick at the very least. I wish she showed up more. But yeah, no, not much. Let's see. Bring back guests. Not happening. Here's my hot take. I don't like Turnabout Revolution. Oh. This is probably what we're going to have to end the video on. Not because you guys... Oh, gosh. I'm seeing some good ones down here. I have to be mindful. How long the video been going on? Okay, cool. This will be the last one. But we're going to do another one. Guys, don't worry. Drop your comments. Okay, cool. I don't like Turnabout Revolution as much as a finale. It's a decent mystery that gets dragged down by spectacle and unnecessary stakes to cause character drama. Civil Trial specifically annoys me. Having another Maya kidnapping plot is lame. Felix unlearns everything from 2-4. Yep. He loses his mind instead of trusting Apollo and Athena. It's just really whack writing. Yeah. Investigation segments drag really hard. Oh, as someone that likes investigation segments. And I kind of like the court bits with Garan, even if she's comically evil. But everything else doesn't do it for me. Backstory exposition's up. Ooh. So let's start with the fact that I agree. Let me get my water. Let's get ready. Turnabout Revolution. Turnabout Academy is my least favorite case in the series. But Turnabout Revolution is just right next to it. Turnabout Revolution is so poor. Like, I've put out a poll about making a case study about Turnabout Revolution, right? And people want me to do it. And that's going to take a while. I'll work on it in the background while I work on other videos. That's going to take a while. But to give you a gist of how Turnabout Revolution is structured, right? It begins. And there, Apollo and Trucy are watching some Kurayan broadcast thing, right? Dirk just shows up, right? He says, yeah, I'm your dad, bro. Like, and Apollo's like, yeah, this is my backstory now. Like, and so that's what's going on now. That's what's happening. And so obviously, if you know the twist, Dirk is dead the whole time. So he never actually does truly get to meet his son while he's alive. That's the whole gimmick. That's the tragedy. But because they need you to feel something for Dirk's death, you have to spend like God knows how many hours with him searching for the Founder's Orb. I was talking about this scene on Twitter, right? There's a scene where Apollo and Dirk are just in there in the cave, and Dirk, it's such an interesting moment. I want to stress, like, Spirit of Justice has like interesting moments or like great character beats that just aren't well earned. I want to like the game so much because at least Dual Destinies didn't try, but like I there's something to be respected about a lack of attempt. Do you know what I mean? Which sounds crazy, but at least in not trying, it didn't mess anything up. Like, do you know what I mean? Like it didn't miss an opportunity so flagrantly that it kind of hurt me. There's a moment where Dirk is like, yo, Apollo, how is your journey going? Right? Like, what is going on? And so Apollo is like, yeah, man. And he starts recalling his cases. And I'm like, oh my God, are we gonna tie his arc together? Is that what we're gonna, is Apollo going to have some synergy here for a moment? What is the story we're telling here about his journey? Right? This is so interesting. What does Apollo say? Apollo says, man, my first case was crazy. And then my second case, magic panties. And then my third case, man, he called me forehead boy, right? And then I knew this prison prosecutor guy. It was crazy. That's it. I was so mad. I was livid. And Dirk's response is just, that's so crazy. I wasn't there though. Man, missed opportunity, but whatever, right? It's a lot of fluff. It's a lot of the investigation segments are ridiculously long. The civil trial is contrived. In fact, one of my biggest frustrations with that moment, even just Dirk in general, because really a lot of Turnabout Revolution hinges on how much you like Dirk, and I don't love Dirk. And the big reason I don't love Dirk is that, to me, he's a less interesting Hobo Phoenix, right? They're both disbarred, both want to change the legal system, both act as a father figure to one of Apollo's siblings, you know, both are mentoring him to some capacity, and they both have some form of animosity. Both parties Apollo feels some form of animosity towards because he's been desensitized, disillusioned, a little bit jaded to them, right? And so what made Phoenix interesting to me is that you get this character that is jaded. He's like, yeah, I did forge evidence. Yeah, and you're gonna hold me to that standard? Like, is it like I'm not a lawyer anymore? What are you gonna do, man? Like, it's not even. I make it sound like he was punking him, but it's like Phoenix's perspective at that point in time is so interesting and unique. You know, you feel something to him. You feel frustrated to watch this character go from disparaging forging evidence to actually doing it, or at least facilitating doing it. That is so fascinating. Watching to see how him presenting that evidence, right? And the fallout, right? What was his final trial, his final hour, and seeing how it affected him in the Mason system. Oh, it was incredible, right? And they do this narrative thing. It's one of the best investigation segments in the series. And I say that I don't say that lightly, because most investigation segments suck, but it was like the best, right? You can see Phoenix is growing jaded and frustrated, and you can like make sense of how he became the person he ends up being. You know, it is so interesting. It's so rich. It adds this level of moral ambiguity. You know, you have Apollo playing the role of us. He admired Phoenix, and now he's jaded. Now he's disillusioned to this person. He doesn't understand who he is and why he is the person that he ended up being, right? And a lot of the narrative is about Phoenix slowly trying to disillusion Apollo to the legal system. So he's not as susceptible to the things that Phoenix was susceptible towards early on in his career that ended up making him disbarred. It's such an interesting dynamic. It's so rich. Now you have Dirk, same premise, and Dirk is just a nice guy trying to bond with his son, and that's it. He's got a terminal illness, right? And he wants to revolutionize Kurain. And even like, bro, gosh, man, the legal system that they want to revolutionize in Kurain is stupid, right? Because it's just lawyers being killed. Of course it's dumb. But I still see, and I literally still get comments about it, people going, yeah, Christoph was right. We needed evidence. Why are we going to change a system that works? Right? There's still a conversation and debate around that. And to me, that I'm not saying the conversation means that it was inherently more valuable, but it means that there was more interesting things to say about it. You know? You could actually engage in a discourse with someone about the ethics of what Phoenix did, and it would be interesting. But no one is going to sit here and argue with you about whether Dirk was like wrong for wanting to change the legal system in Kurayin. Of course, it was dumb, right? It was dumb. Which even feeds into even Apollo going back and staying there. It's like, we gotta fix this. Fix what? It's the same. You're just not gonna kill lawyers this time. Do you know what I mean? So it's oh gosh, I'm not. Turnabout Revolution wasn't great. I don't like Apollo's Kurayan backstory. I think it's not that good. It's obsessed with the stakes. It's so obsessed. It's like a bunch of, and this is the problem with a lot of the final cases, right? Because Dual Destinies does this too. It does. Apollo Justice to a lesser extent kind of does it, but I think it's unique in its own way. The stakes raising just higher and higher. Like Trucy gets kidnapped in Dual Destinies. Like, and that's kind of, and then obviously they have the whole like death row thing going on. Big stakes, but Turnabout for tomorrow, like it's the whole gimmick. It makes sense. Man, Turnabout Revolution, man, you're gonna die. You're going to be shot dead several times in that case. You know, the agency's gonna be shut down. Phoenix is gonna die. Maya's gonna die. Maya's being kidnapped. Dirk is dead. There's a revolution outside. You're being held at go. Amara gets shot. Dirk gets shot. Everyone is just going through it. It's just this roller coaster, and it just didn't engage me. And it's not necessarily because maybe some of those stakes did something for someone. Like the reveal that Dirk is dead is a big reveal. Like I did go, oh wow, when I first saw it. I'm not gonna sit here and lie, right? But I guess I didn't feel emotionally attached to much of what was going on, because I felt like Apollo didn't even deserve to be like involved in it to begin with. Kurayin was Phoenix's story. And I'm not saying that to say like, oh yeah, like I'm the Apollo Justice guy. I wanted Apollo to get his thing. But Phoenix was the one in Kurayin the whole time. He was the one they were calling Turnabout Terror. Apollo had to come in and they had to come up with the new nicknames. They had to come up with these new things. Even when he shows up, they're like, who is this guy? Do you know what I mean? Who is this? It would have made more sense. Even in the promos, doesn't Dirk say a Phoenix is coming? Right? Surely it would have made more sense for Dirk to go to Phoenix. No? But instead he travels all the way, travels borders, don't know how he did it by the way, to go meet Apollo, right? Because he needs to be the one to do it. Because he needs to be relevant to this final case. You know? Apollo needs to surpass Phoenix. So we have to write a contrived situation where Phoenix and Apollo face off in court. And this is, oh gosh, man. I'm talking a lot, I recognize. Last thing, a lot of the Apollo Justice trilogy plays on this idea of Apollo versus Phoenix. They do it a lot. They do it so much, right? It's in the Apollo Justice to some capacity. They have like animosity there. It's in Dual Destinies. They do Apollo versus Phoenix. They do it in Spirit of Justice. My problem is the reasons why they do it tend to suck. When you have all of these reasons in the first game for why they'd have this animosity, why there'd be this like weird dynamic between them. Phoenix, everyone says it, Phoenix uses Apollo. I'm not gonna sit here and lie. Yes, he does. He does. Absolutely. You're gonna make the new lawyer present forged evidence? Oh, you used him as a pawn. Absolutely. Right? That wasn't right. That was the ends justify the means. Let's build a conflict around that. How about instead of making Apollo leave because his best friend died, right? Let's make him leave because, hey, you know what? Trucy, your dad's kind of a dick. And I don't really like him that much. How's that? That could have been an interesting angle to take with it, right? And having Phoenix have to reconcile with the person he's become as a result of his disbarment. Wouldn't that have been more interesting than him saying, you know, my brother, my friend folded. I might need to take 5, right? Couldn't we have built a character arc about Apollo's disillusionment, and playing into that doubt, right? And so when we come to the end of his character arc, we are building on that disillusionment, you know? Phoenix's whole journey with Apollo is showing him that the law basically isn't what we think it is, right? It's not as absolute as we think it is. Surely building an arc around that could have been interesting, you know, instead of jumping to all these different, like, now it's about the jury system, and now it's about having faith in your coworker and having faith in the doubt, and now it's about the kingdom of Kurayin. No cohesion, no connectivity. It's awful, right? Turnabout Revolution. I don't like it at all. I don't like it. I spoke about that for quite a bit, and I didn't mean to get so involved and so into that. I might have to cut some of that out, but I might just leave it raw and just play, because it's important for people to realize that, yeah, I really didn't like that case. Really didn't like it. Yeah. Turnabout Revolution, man. What a mess. I'm gonna do one final one just because, like, I don't want to end it on such a bad note. I don't like Herlock Sholmes. Okay. Hans Gretty says, I'm not sure if this is a hot take, but I don't like Sherlock Holmes that much. He's a fun character, but people seem to really love him. I don't like how OP he is. His contribution is basically Deus Ex Machina. Sherlock Holmes is an inconsistent super detective that diminishes the accomplishments of the other characters, whose antics tend to clash with the tone of the rather grounded storytelling through their sheer absurdity. I agree. Yeah. Now, I really like Sherlock Holmes. I do like him as a character. I think when he's reaching the deductions and he's just getting it wrong and he's wasting time, he's not that fun. But I like how goofy he is. I like that he's kind of a jerk. I think when he's making up inventions that haven't been made before, right? That's frustrating. So the stereoscope thing, or like the blood analysis, like the blood analysis machine in case 5, or like, again, here's my hologram, check me out. Do you know what I mean? It's goofy fun, but I agree in that, like, had they made him more grounded, I probably would have liked him more. For the record, that doesn't mean I don't think he shouldn't be eccentric and fun. Like, yeah, let him hang on walls and be goofy, right? But I don't know, this idea of, you know, having him make up like machinery to kind of solve a case, to me, diminishes what is, like you said, a very grounded world. That's a pretty good cue. That's a pretty good cue to stop recording. All right, cool. Thank you guys so much for your time. This has been great. This is incredible. I really appreciate all the hot takes you guys have sent. Didn't mean to go so in on Turnabout Revolution and Apollo's arc. I think I just need to get some stuff off. Blow some steam, clearly. If you guys want to see more hot take videos, once again, just throw them in the comments. I'll be taking them out where I can. They'll be in the videos where we can throw them in. I love doing these things. Once again, like I said this on Twitter, like, this channel is purely recreational, at least for now. I'm not making money off it. My main channel makes way more money, right? And like, it's, you know, it is something I care about, but, you know, Ace Attorney is always going to be in my heart. I'm always going to appreciate the series and love what it's done for me. So if I can help facilitate a conversation around this series, and maybe, in off chance someone sees it, because I know they do pay attention to people, this will be a different video, that like it facilitates growth and change in the Ace Attorney series, be that in its fandom or the games themselves, I'll be proud of it. Maybe that's a bit of an arrogant dream though. All right. Thank you guys so much for your time. Your support means a lot. Didn't mean to go so in on Turnabout Revolution, but take care of yourselves and take care of each other. On that note, goodbye. All right, peace.